Hello, everyone, and welcome to the On Your Head Son podcast. This week we are on the line.
On the line. Go on.
On
First
the
virtual
line.
podcast.
We like to keep it fresh here. We like to film in different locations, and this time we are in our own bedrooms on the line. It's just two brothers for you this week, because despite it being painfully easy to join this podcast, both Chris and Andy have found excuses. So I guess it's a warm welcome to Matt.
Yes, I've made it. Mr. Consistent. That's what they call me. Excited to do it. First virtual podcast. Yeah, let's go.
Excellent. Mr. Consistent. They call you John McGinn.
John McGinn, exactly, yeah. A man of my own heart. Good old Villa. Good old
Villa. And how are you? How was your weekend?
Weekend was really good, yeah. So Friday night went to a good old sports bar in London with a bunch of Saints fans and watched Southampton lose 4-1 to Leicester. That was a brilliant start to the weekend. And then just went for some nice walks in the sun, watched some nice football. So good weekend. The Sunday wasn't the most exciting day, and I'm sure we'll get to that. But it was good. What about you? Obviously, you're now sponsored by Mystery Away Days. So go on, talk to me.
Yeah, well, I had a big weekend in Essen in Germany. I booked a holiday through Mystery Away Days, where we got our flight, our accommodation, and ticket to a random football match somewhere in Germany included. A week or two before, we found out we were going to the bright lights of Essen in Germany. Have you heard of Essen before?
I've heard of a place. I've never heard of a football club, I have to say. What league were they in?
They are in the Bundesliga 1, 2, 3, the third league.
Third tier. Brilliant.
Third tier of the Bundesliga. So we didn't know what to expect at all. We're going a little bit blind, but the experience was insane. There's about 16,000 people in the stadium, and the passion for that team, the third tier team, was exceptional.
I love that.
One of the best games I've been to.
What was the score?
It was an exhilarating game which ended 0-0.
0-0. I love that. I love it. Travelled all the way to Germany to watch a 0-0. A Bundesliga third tier. Unbelievable. I
would estimate that the XG for both teams was probably 0.4 for Rot-Weiss Essen and 0.1 for Jan Regensburg. It was an exhilarating game. It was enthralling.
I absolutely love that. So would you do it again, Mystery Away Days? It sounded amazing and looked from your infamous reel now. Yep. So it looked out of a chart. So was it good?
I would absolutely go again in a heartbeat. To be honest, I'd go again to Essen. I'd like to see how the players are getting on. Just a quick note on that before I talk more about something else. They really build up from the back there. RW Essen play with an inverted fullback called Bruno. He was the best player on the pitch by a country mile. He was all over the place. But it was just amazing to see a third tier football, the quality that they were playing. It was bizarre. But yes, I would definitely go on the mystery trip. The fact it's a mystery makes it way more fun.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah. If you were to go somewhere like that, where would you want to end up?
I don't know, actually. I'd like it to be somewhere completely different, somewhere I just wouldn't think that I'd go see a football match. So somewhere, I don't know, you see the advert, you see like kind of the games in Serbia, and they look absolutely mental and kind of that Eastern Europe vibe. I think that would probably be the best kind of atmosphere to go to, almost with the ultras around there. I think. A third tier one I think is a bit of a push, and I think it's absolutely hilarious that you went all that way to see that. I was really jealous when you actually went. I was kind of taking the piss out of you before, and then now really jealous and annoyed didn't go.
Well, just to add to it as well, we were lucky that Oktoberfest fell the same weekend, so we had a night in Oktoberfest Essen afterwards. So we had a great time. Definitely recommend Mystery Away Days.
Feeling really good now?
feeling spectacular. You can hear in my voice how I'm feeling. So with that, I guess let's press on, shall we? And should we talk about the Premier League?
Yeah, the elite. This one, yeah.
It is the elite. It's not third tier, but I can tell you the atmospheres and all the grounds aren't as good as RWS.
Of course not.
Speaking of RWS again, when I was there, I opened a message from you, and you said to me, "Ha ha ha, Cunha," because it was a lunchtime kickoff that was going on at the same time. So can you please tell me why you sent me a message saying "Ha ha ha, Cunha"?
Cunha, start of the season, I said was the worst signing of the summer, and I stand by that 100,000,000%. He is useless at finishing, absolutely useless. So Wolves went up 1-0 early doors. This is Wolves v Liverpool. Obviously, we're talking about the 12:30 kickoff on Saturday, and Wolves looked really good for the first 30 minutes. Played really well actually. I can't remember who it was. I think it was Bellegarde. Bellegarde looks like an absolute player, playing like as a kind of cam. He looked really good, and then they scored early. I can't remember what it was. I think it was Hwang scored quite early, and then Cunha had a chance about 20 minutes. After about 20 minutes, just misjudged the flight of the ball completely. Misses that header. It almost hits his front of his face, and then kind of dribbles down his body. And yeah, so the message I sent to the group chat was obviously, look at this guy, who is this? And straight after that, I can't remember another chance that Wolves made, to be honest. It kind of completely turned into Liverpool come the second half. So and then they ended up winning 3-1, obviously. So
well,
yeah, I mean,
the thing is, so that you end up, I think I messaged you this at the time. You pay a lot of money for game changers. And it sounded like Cunha's a game changer. £50 million. He changed the game in Liverpool's favour.
He did. I mean, yeah, definitely a game changer. I'm not sure it's kind of what Gary O'Neill was going for, but I mean, to be fair, he definitely changed the game. And yeah, I mean, right at the start, I mean, Wolves were playing unbelievable football. I mean, Liverpool looks so open at the back still. I know we've spoken about that in great length in the past podcasts and stuff like that, but I mean, this time you had Van Dijk didn't play, Trent didn't play as well, and they were just getting in behind so easily. Like Neto looked like prime kind of I don't know, Doku, prime Doku.
You look like prime Doku. A little bit soon to say Doku. I mean, this is we're going to talk about Doku a bit later, but
yeah.
People who only get their knowledge of football from the On Your Head Son podcast will never have heard of Doku.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I guess so. But no, it's yeah, I mean, yeah, just I mean, Liverpool just looks so open. Yeah, and then obviously they actually made their subs towards the end, and actually you put on Darwin Nunez and who else came on? I can't remember off the top of my head. One of our other Harvey Elliott came on as well, and you actually saw Luis Diaz. And you actually saw players actually trying to get in behind the back line, as opposed to just all of them coming to feet. You had Jota, Gakpo, and Salah just all dropping. And it was just, there was no threat whatsoever in that first half. And then yeah, you bring on Diaz and Nunez, who I think who actually would have started, but obviously came back from their South American duty, which is probably why they didn't start. Otherwise, I think they would. You'd hope they get in the team because they changed the game again. And Nunez, I don't know what he needs to do to get a start, to be honest, if he doesn't. But yeah, yeah, I mean, Liverpool have played poorly, I think, at the start of the season, and have ended up, I think it's 4 wins and a draw or 4 wins and a loss.
Yeah,
I can't remember off the top of my head. Yeah, 4 wins and a draw. So yeah, I mean, that's very good. And not as we said, not many teams start on 100% record. It's literally just Man City are just keeping this unbelievable pace up. Otherwise, you'd be talking about Liverpool and Tottenham, and actually Arsenal as well, having an unbelievable start of 4 wins and a draw as well. So yeah. So yeah, that's all I've really got to say on good old Wolves.
I just asked you one question about Cunha, and you just go off on one.
I hate Cunha. I hate Cunha. Honestly, like Fabio Silva came on as well, and my God, you're talking about 2 average strikers. It's just, well, not even average.
A lot of money though.
Well, I think combined it might be 70 million, or maybe more, 80, 45 and 35, wasn't it? 80 mil. Get your money back. Keep your money. Keep your money.
Yeah,
That's
so
what
they
I'm
hope
saying.
they kept their receipts.
Yeah.
So what other games did you watch over the weekend? I know that you talked about settling in for a good old Sunday of Premier League
I did.
football.
I
Um,
did. Yeah.
were there many more goals than the RWSN versus John Regensburg game?
So in a on a Super Sunday, what on a Sunday, what I like to do sometimes is just relax by the sofa. Just relax by the sofa and just put on Sky
Sorry,
Sports and just
sorry,
see what happens.
sorry. Really quickly, relax by the sofa.
Well, I was
You don't sit on the sofa.
no, exactly. No, that's not my position. My position is by the sofa, not on the sofa, unfortunately.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, I meant to say relax by the TV, but yeah, so yeah, so I was relaxing by the sofa and watching kind of Super Sunday, which is, I don't know, 1 p.m. till about 7 p.m. or whatever it was. And my God, I've had some bad Sundays, but it was a poor Sunday for Premier League football. I mean, you start off with Bournemouth Chelsea. I don't really know what to say about that game.
Should we
They
move on?
looked equal.
Should we move on from that game?
What, Bournemouth Chelsea? Bournemouth
Yeah, let's move
Chelsea.
on.
Just move on. Yeah, that's. I
Move
mean,
on.
to be honest, yeah, that's absolutely fine. Yeah, I'm happy to move on. I've wasted 90 minutes of my life watching that game. I'm fine. I'm fine to move on.
Okay.
Um,
Do you have anything to say about Everton versus Arsenal?
Everton Arsenal, I do a little bit. So I actually went into that game thinking, I think Chris actually locked it up on as his kind of prediction. That he actually thought Everton were going to beat Arsenal, and I actually went into that game thinking Arsenal hadn't got a result there since Wenger. I didn't actually realise that until just before the game.
Hmm.
And they looked nervous the whole game. It wasn't very like Arsenal aren't flowing at all at the moment. Whatsoever. If they're like they're very slow and very predictable with what they're doing, with what they're trying to do, which is get the ball to Saka, and then Saka creates little triangles with Odegaard, Ben White, and maybe Declan Rice comes in a little bit as well. They dropped Kai Havertz for this game, and also the big decision was also dropping Ramsdale for Raya, who came in, but Raya had nothing really to do. So I mean, there's not really much comment to say there, but I think the big thing again is similar to Liverpool is Arsenal have got 4 wins and a draw, and they played poorly by their standards. And yeah, and there was a kind of goal in this game which Martinelli scored, but it was ruled out for offside for Nketiah due to like a deflection. But yeah, I mean, yeah, it was more interesting than Bournemouth Chelsea, but it wasn't worth 90 minutes of my time. It could have been summed up in about 4 minutes of highlights. People who watch Match of the Day 2, I think even that's a bit too long. It should be just like end of Match of the Day, where it's kind of like that 2.5 minute, 3 minute highlights for both of those games.
Can I be honest? I mean, you just ranted about that for 2 minutes, and I'm bored. And
Yeah, I think that's fair. That's fair. So let's move on.
Should we just pretend that Sunday didn't happen? Should we call it a shitty Sunday instead
Yeah,
of a Super
exactly. Yeah.
Sunday?
Shitty Sunday. Shitty Sunday is absolutely fine. Shitty Sunday is it's absolutely fine. Yeah. But however, Monday Night Football, I know you were back on Monday, or were you back on
I
Sunday?
was.
You were back on Monday. And then you actually took meticulous notes. You're taking your job very seriously here about Forest Burnley. So go on, talk to me. What happened?
I'm not going to give you a step-by-step account of the game. I just want to bring up a few points, really. Oh, you have frozen. Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can hear you.
You
Just
me? You
froze.
froze
Right.
for just a second
Yeah.
then. So basically, I mean, like the game itself, to start off with, Forest were really, really good, and it looked like a Premier League team versus a Championship team to begin with. But Burnley kind of grew into it, and yeah, they ended up looking okay, Burnley, and they were really unlucky not to win. Did you see the disallowed goal?
The handball.
Below Foster.
It's tough, isn't it? It's tough, that one.
It was judged that he deliberately moved his arm towards the ball, and he's just his running motion. He
was running, and then he also just like someone was running across, so he's kind of just getting his body just a bit more in front, and then it dribbles past his arm, and then hits his body, and then moves forward, and then yeah, I mean the guy wasn't even complaining. I can't remember who the centre back was, but but yeah, the centre back McKenna, I think maybe wasn't
Yeah,
even complaining at all, and it's just yeah, it just seemed wrong that goal anyway. And then they interviewed Vincent Company after the game, and he was very good. Like he just comes across. I mean, he's media trained to an absolute T. He comes
yeah,
across just unbelievably in that kind of scenario where yeah, a lot of other managers be ranting and stuff. We just like I don't comment about that kind of decisions. It's just it's quite actually refreshing to see in that kind of way.
yeah, no, definitely. One refereeing decision I did see, which kind of links into a lot of things over the weekend. Did you see? Did you watch the whole game? Did you see
Oh
that
yeah, did you?
James Trafford got booked right at the beginning for not taking a goal kick within about like 10 seconds?
Yeah,
It was, or free kick. It was
yeah,
bizarre.
yeah.
They're really taking these time wasting things a little bit too far
No, I
at the
agree. I
moment.
agree. And I don't like he wasn't even looking at time wasting then. It was literally just he was waiting for
Yeah,
options and then just he's obviously been taught like tried to play out for back and then there wasn't any options, so then he pushes him forward and then he gets a
yeah,
booking like straight away. It was just it's a stupid decision. But yeah,
yeah.
it's one of those.
But
But how good was Hudson Odoi? His goal, his
that's
goal.
always brilliant. Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, controversial is that. I mean, losing Brennan Johnson and getting Hudson Odoi, is that a loss?
I don't think so. I don't think so at all. He was signed for 3.5 million or something like that. That
Yeah.
is, I know his career's obviously not taken off the way everyone would
Mm.
have liked, but I mean that's a good deal there.
That Forest team is going to cause a lot of defences troubles.
Yeah,
If they play that attacking, they're probably going to concede a lot as well. They look really, really top heavy,
yeah,
and they just sort of sit Sangare and Mangala in the hope that that will balance the team out. But when
yeah.
you've got Gibbs White, a Wonyi who's brilliant, he
Um,
he could make a
no,
big move
he could.
somewhere.
Yeah, I completely agree with that.
Really, really
Yeah, I
big.
was going to say
He's
that.
so strong. He's quick. He's a good finisher. He seems to have like good vision. Great. Alanga, Andy's favourite. Like he's quite good.
Yeah,
And Hudson Odoi is a brilliant addition to that team.
and then also off the bench, Chris Wood. I know not amazing. Divock Origi.
mhm.
um, and Nuno Tavares, who's the most attacking left back you could ever dream of. Like, I
Yeah,
mean, we went to watch Nice Marseille a couple of years ago, or maybe the start of last season, when he was playing for Marseille, and I think he scored 2 goals, and he was just up and down that left flank. Like
yeah,
he's a decent player going forward. He's not necessarily the best defender I've ever seen him with the best attitude, but yeah, no, it's really good. And then also one thing I did notice about it was Koleosho, their left winger,
mhm.
Burnley's left winger. He looked really good for the first half until they took that right back off and then moved the left back to the right back. I think it was I can't remember who that left back was, but kind of stopped him. And then after that, he was awful.
Aina.
Aina, yeah. The minute Aina tackled him once, he just gave up and just would kind of refuse to go at him again. It was
I think maybe it just shows how poor World Cup winning Montiel was.
yes, yeah, maybe, yeah, fine,
The
yeah,
man that scored the winning goal in the to win Argentina the World Cup couldn't defend against the 18, 19-year-old and for playing for Burnley.
yeah,
Um, but
yeah.
no, Collier, he looked brilliant. And
He did.
do you know what? Like Burnley, I thought they were a funny one because it's still early. They've had a lot of departures, a lot of like arrivals since last season. They clearly play football in quite a good way,
Mhm.
but I'm not sure that I'm not convinced by them, and I'm not convinced they have enough to stay in the division. The only saving grace is that there are some terrible, terrible teams in the league this year.
Agreed.
Um, I think it's very, very plausible that the three teams that have come up will go down:
Agreed. Yeah, I
Burnley,
think
Sheffield United, and Luton.
yeah, I think also you can throw in Everton and Wolves into that mix as to who. But I mean, those are the five, and I'm literally just looking at the Premier League now. Those are already the bottom five.
Yeah,
With Everton, Burnley, Sheffield United, and Luton not winning a game so far. I know it's
yeah,
really early days, and Burnley have had a really tough start with playing Man City, Villa, was it Newcastle? Can't remember. Yeah, but
okay, yeah,
and then this was the game, to be honest, that they almost had to win. I think next they've got Let's just quickly have a look. Next they've got Newcastle, then we've got Luton again, a must win, and then we've got Chelsea. So I mean, like, you're starting off
Yes, they might
with
pick up
tough,
some close
and Man U. And Man U as well in that. So I mean, you've got tough games to start off with.
They've got a young team, some exciting players, but the heads could drop. I'm not convinced on them. One more point I wanted to make, which I wrote down in my notes. Nottingham Forest, a ridiculous project that's somewhat working.
I agree. Kind of like a cheaper version of Chelsea that's working.
Somehow they bought 450 people last year. They seem to have got rid of half of them, and then they've done a similar thing this year.
And then they've got more.
It's somehow working. The only two people that they cannot replace are their championship centre halves, and they're not very good. Like Nottingham Forest are so top heavy, and I said that earlier on. But defensively, like McKenna and Worrell are fine. Like they're all right, but they were found wanting a few times against Burnley. So yeah, I don't know. I think they will comfortably finish. Well, they'll stay up this year. I've got no concerns for them at all. So in that sense, the ridiculous project is working.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and that's to be honest, it was a big old gamble last year, and they somehow stayed up. Well, they didn't somehow stayed up. They stayed up quite comfortable in the end, actually. And now they've got rid of all their players, and then they've swapped one nut of a right back for a nut of a left back as well, which I quite like. So yeah, it's different anyway. It's definitely a different way of approaching it. So yeah.
For sure.
It's always good.
But I think that's that for Burnley and Forest. Let's move on to the actual exciting games of the weekend. Probably should have started with them. Now I think about it. The problem is that I was in Germany at the time. I didn't have a chance to watch them. But it was a weekend of comebacks. We already mentioned about Wolves and Liverpool coming back. We then had a very late one for Tottenham against Sheffield United. I was listening to a roundup this morning in a podcast, and someone was asked why, how did Spurs win this game? And the answer was because there were so many minutes at the end of the game.
Yeah, basically, yeah. I think it was they scored in the 98th minute and the 100th minute. I mean, I think it was and then Ollie McBurney got something in the 114th minute. So I think that overall, I think it was maybe 25 minutes added on at the end. So I mean, it was a long old game, particularly also to get back from that Tottenham Stadium down Seven Sisters. No, absolute nightmare.
There are 7 of them as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, a whole 7. So yeah, I mean, never good. Good joke. Good joke. Genius. You're tired.
A little bit. Yeah.
So I mean, this was my banker. In the predictions game, I had Tottenham to win this 4-0. I mean, you're playing against Sheffield United, who again are one of those 5 poor teams that we've kind of outlined, and they stuck at it. And actually could have ended up winning this game quite. They had their first goal, I think, whatever it was, 73rd minute, 75th minute, and then they could have scored straight after that. Actually, to be honest, I can't remember who else. I think it was McBurney had another chance. So I mean, then it could have been a completely different game, and then Ange Ball might be dead. But however, 98th minute, Richarlison scores, which is brilliant because obviously he's gone through kind of his mental health kind of issues in the last couple of weeks, and I think this will give him a much needed lift because he looks like a shadow of like kind of his former player this year anyway, and also for much of last year as well. And hopefully this kind of gives him a bit of a lift. He got a goal and assist in this, so yeah, it really did change the game when he came on. I mean,
the question that I want to ask about Tottenham. So everyone's so super excited about Ange Ball.
Yeah.
How long is it before they get found out? One team will work out how to play against it.
Yeah.
And then every team will know how to play against it.
I agree. I think also with their team, I think it suits actually playing against better teams. I think I actually think they don't really have they've got a few creative players like Madison. Well, Madison's a very creative player actually. I take that back, to be honest. But I think if you put like kind of whatever they do against Arteta always complains about it. Arteta moans about everything, but when teams play against, when he always comes up against the low block where it's like 2 banks of 4 or a bank of 4 and a bank of 5 or whatever. I think with Tottenham, if you were to do that, I think they'd completely struggle with that. But yeah, I think Ange Ball's obviously on a roll at the moment. I think the game next week, the North London derby, Arsenal Spurs will be an absolutely massive game, and yeah, I think really on form, you probably back Tottenham in a weird way. But yeah,
identical form really. They've won 4.
Well, yeah, but but in terms of the mood going into the game, I think Ange Ball's on the up and Arteta Ball seems to be a bit on the down at the moment with how they're playing.
You are all about vibes. You're talking about vibes ball right now.
Good vibes only. Good vibes,
tan lines. That's what you're all about.
Good vibes, tan lines.
No see that lines. In Australia, where Ange obviously comes from. The other comeback, another one of the comebacks was Man City against West Ham.
Speaking of a comeback by Man City, they've literally just come back from 1-0 down to 2-1 in the Champions League. That's just going on right now, so that's why. Sorry.
Excellent, thank you. But yeah, I suppose not too much to say about this. Like, West Ham have had a really good start to the season. Man City, they were outstanding. They could have won the game 10-1. From the looks of the highlights and from what I've been reading, Haaland could have scored 6.
Again,
he missed a ton and really, 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 really easy chances. And he scored, and it was nice to see his face. It was like he's not a robot. It's like a sign of relief. It's like
relief where he kind of like
almost half himself.
Exactly. Yeah. No, I think
that's quite enjoyable to watch.
I completely agree. I think that was really nice actually of him to actually see that kind of side, because usually you see him and he's just a machine who just kind of gets in, gets out, and but this film was quite funny because he did miss 3 sitters, and not just sitters for him, sitters for anyone, and then he also then had 2 or 3 other half chances that you usually back him to score, and then I actually can't remember his goal. Was it a header, this one? I actually can't remember this one at all. But anyway, he obviously still gets on the score sheet as he does normally, and he could have stole Bernardo Silva's goal, and he didn't as well, which is obviously quite nice to see, because usually a striker would kind of always do that. And then Jeremy Doku, who I know I mentioned earlier, was a prime player, but he looked unbelievable in this game. And I know he's playing against Soufal, so I mean it's not the biggest test. It's a 19-year-old against someone who's like 40. But yeah, I mean he looked really good in this game, and his goal was brilliant. Just committed.
So direct.
Yeah.
Such a direct runner with the ball. I mean, from the looks of it, even though he plays on the other side, a good replacement for Mahrez.
I think
really.
I think Mahrez is a very good comparison. I think with the way he carries the ball, but he's probably a little bit quicker and maybe a little bit less technical, you'd say. But yeah, I mean, yeah, he looked like an absolute handful. And I do just want to say about West Ham is they could have very easily gone away with a lot, like, I don't know, a point in this game or even a win. Antonio, I think, had a one-on-one where he just overhit just his first touch. Otherwise, I think it was 2-0 at that point. And you still almost would back maybe Man City to come back and score 4 or 5 goals. But yeah, I mean, West Ham are doing very well, and they've been probably one of our biggest surprises this season, I'd say. After losing Declan Rice, they spent that money unbelievably.
They have, they've spread it around the team a bit. That can sometimes happen. Spurs tried to do that with Bale and failed miserably, famously. But West Ham seem to have done a good job with it. So, another comeback was Aston Villa against Palace. I know you love the Villa.
I do love the Villa. Ollie Watkins. Ollie Watkins can't score. I know what's going on.
Well,
was the
he's under
first.
pressure. Wow, now he's under pressure from big John Duran.
He
Right,
is.
what a finish that was.
I know, that was unbelievable. Like, where did it come from? It was just like, and the commentator just went, I can't remember, but he's just quoted a Duran Duran song. I can't remember what song it was, but it was poor. It was brilliant. It was like "Hungry Like the Wolf" or something like that. But
I was going to suggest "Hungry Like the Wolf."
yeah, but it was,
Or he's got a view to a kill.
"View to a Kill" would be a better reference, I think. Or Rio, just Rio always. But anyway, yeah. So yeah, I mean, Ollie Watkins just can't score. He's still an absolute handful, I think, the whole game. But yeah, just it's just that final little bit. But I mean, again, Villa, they did look like the better team. You have to say, I think Palace could, again, very similar to kind of that Man City West Ham game. Palace, but obviously not as dominant, you'd say. But Palace could have very easily come away with the point or even a win. The penalty, I think, was soft, but possibly just a penalty. You'd say you
disagree. He gets the ball.
Does he?
He touches the ball slightly, and then he scoops it away afterwards. Yeah, I think
does, yeah, but I think but he kind of goes through him. I don't know. It's one of, I think it's a really harsh one for for Palace, and I mean the fact, was it VAR that overturned it? Oh no, the ref made the decision and then went over and stuck with it. So VAR actually probably suggested that he should have overturned it, but yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't know, one of those. But I mean, yeah, Villa looked again, really exciting team to watch as always. And yeah, I'm just looking forward to them. Just keep on improving, keep on just getting that next win. That's all it is. That's all it is. Next game matters. And Pau Torres is still looking good, which is important.
And you fancy him?
I do. I absolutely love Pau Torres. I love Pau Torres. I actually love their whole team. So yeah, I can't. And Emi Martinez looks, he's just a funny guy. He's just
Can I do it yet?
What?
Pow!
Ah, yeah. It's a classic. Catalina wine, fucking wine. It's a fucking Catalina wine mixer.
Pow! Great. Well, I'm gonna say two scores, and we're not going to talk much or at all about them because you don't have much to say about it. Newcastle 1, Brentford 0, Fulham 1, Luton 0. Anything to say?
Niente. We have missed one big game here.
Nothing for our non-Spanish followers.
Yeah.
And we're going to wrap off the weekend's roundup with United Brighton.
Yeah.
How are United so much worse than Brighton?
The popular thing to say is Glazers. The Glazers out, and that's why. And everything's to do with the Glazers, and it all kind of filters down from the top. And say if you're in a bad company and the directors are bad, it's going to be bad on the shop floor as well. Which I guess is kind of true in that kind of way. I think recruitment over the last 10 years has been appalling from United.
What does a bad shop floor look like?
Sports Direct about 4 years ago.
Nothing folded, everything all over the place.
Yeah. You know,
broken mugs on that. Like, say, like, would you like to buy a broken mug for 99p?
Yeah, well, no, but I think I don't know if Mike Ashley would let you get that. It'd be like £2.99 at least. It'd be like 50p off. But yeah, so yeah, I think that's quite a good example of a bad shop floor. Actually, I think it's.
I do. I think it was a very good example.
Yeah,
I'm now just trying to picture a bad shop floor.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
maybe one that's just trap doors. There's a bad shop floor.
That would be appalling. That would be appalling.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I mean,
and I suppose on that, Man United's team seems to be full of trap doors at the moment.
It does. I mean, it's absolutely appalling. I mean, obviously, what's happening with Sancho at the moment, with him getting, I don't know, he's just got a massive rift with Ten Hag at the moment, where he's training with the reserves. I think he's just not trained. Like, I think Ten Hag said he's just not training very well and he's just not a good trainer. You've got the whole off the field stuff with Anthony, and obviously the way they handled the Greenwood situation at the start of the year, where they kind of put it out to see like whether the Man U fans would want him back or how the public would view him putting him back, and then everyone reacted in a bad way, and it was like, okay, maybe we shouldn't do it. But everything's just been handled so poorly, and everyone was saying about Ten Hag being a very, very, very good manager, which I still, to be honest, think he probably is. But I think he's got some tough characters in there, and I mean, it only takes one look at Anthony to be able to tell he's a bit of a dick, he's a bit of a dick, to say the least.
Yeah, I wouldn't disagree with that.
Yeah. Sorry, Anthony. If you're watching or listening. But yeah. So I mean,
I think the main. I mean, they've almost the opposite of Ange Ball and De Zerbi Ball. That it's not Vibes FC. It's complete anti-vibes.
It is. And we're all about good vibes.
And on the pitch, I don't know. I don't see what they are. Last year, Ten Hag seemed to have a plan. They seem to play quite well. He seems to be building something where it's all fallen apart. And I don't know whether what's going on behind the scenes, but there must be a part in it. The one silver lining, and the fans booed when he came off, was Højlund. He looked really good again. And if he could bring back the vibes.
He could, because also he also looks like he's got a bit of character about him, and not just a bit. He's got a lot of character about him. He just seems like that kind of guy, chest out, very kind of I don't know, just a big character. He's only 20, and yeah, he just seems to always want to embrace it and want to kind of have that bit of a scrap and want to have that bit of a fight, as opposed to kind of your Bruno Fernandez's and so on, where it's kind of almost that whingy kind of kind of atmosphere where if something goes wrong. Whereas I think Højlund kind of seems like that guy, and you kind of hope he doesn't kind of get bogged down with kind of the rest of the squad. You kind of want him to stay fresh and stay kind of innocent in that kind of sense, and actually want to kind of be yourself and just kind of have that kind of fight. I do want to say about Man U is at the start they played with the diamond formation, and I'm sure you watched Monday Night Football yesterday, and it was actually quite interesting to hear them talk about it, where actually at the start it was really working, because Brighton always go man for man from their defending, and it ended up causing Brighton a lot of issues, so that diamond formation, and it worked really well to start with, and then kind of Brighton made that adjustment about after they scored the first goal. Actually, it saw De Zerbi kind of giving Dunk instructions to give to everyone else, and then after that it was completely all Brighton, and Man U looked leggy. I mean, you had, I can't remember who was on the right. I think it was McTominay was on the right of the three, and Eriksen might have been on the left of the three, and it's just like you're asking them to cover. Old Trafford's a big pitch.
It's an example of a team that is able to adapt to a problem in Brighton, playing against the team that's unable to adapt. In Man United, they've had a problem for a while now. They seem to be quite one-dimensional, in the way they play.
Completely agree. The other thing I do want to say is Brighton's squad was 16 million, the whole of it, and it's like that's pretty unbelievable.
I think it was the start. It was the team, not the squad.
The starting 11. The starting 11. Yeah, sorry. Yeah. I mean, that gets.
But still, and I mean, Brighton still look fantastic, and they shuffle their pack around a lot every weekend. So maybe they're well equipped to balance with Europe. Maybe
I hope so.
56th again is probably well on the cards for them.
I hope so. I mean, who have actually got this? Are they playing tomorrow? Not tomorrow, Thursday, I assume.
They'll play on Thursday.
Yeah. Let's see if they're playing.
Also, just one little gripe. One gripe we've got on Brighton. We went there last year to watch Southampton play. My word, it was a boring stadium.
One of the worst atmospheres. It's nothing on Essen, is it?
Sorry, Brighton
it's nothing
fans.
on Essen.
Yeah,
nothing on
honestly,
Essen.
It was the polar opposite to Essen.
Yeah. No, we said we went to watch Saints Brighton, didn't we? And one of the worst atmospheres I've ever seen in my life. And it was the day they qualified for Europe. I know we're playing against Southampton, who weren't a good team, who are now obviously a really good team. But back then, unfortunately, we were going through one of our dark patches. So it was an appalling atmosphere. Speaking of Southampton, they're still losing 1-0 to Ipswich Town. Everyone, just.
Okay, good. Right, well, I think we got a little bit distracted there. So what we're going to very quickly do is have a super quick break, because because we're on the line, I forgot one thing, which the cardinal sin, which is not plugging in your laptop, and my laptop is about to die any second, which is why I've been a bit fidgety for the last minute or so.
Useless.
So we're going to pause very, very quickly, and I'm going to grab my laptop charger. Okay, we are back. I have plugged in my laptop, and we are ready to get going again. To finish off, do you know what time it is, Matt?
Oh, I do. It's my favourite kind of time, this one. It's always
We
good.
normally get around a few people. It's a bit awkward doing it with just two people.
It doesn't really work, does it?
I know what time it is.
Well, so do I. But do we both know? Do we both know?
It's the predictions
game.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was
Painful.
That was chemistry. That was those are two people that have known each other for 28 years.
Nearly 29. So yeah.
Nearly 29 years.
Yeah. It's bad, isn't it?
Yeah. If anyone wants to celebrate Matt's birthday, it's he's having a nice little do. No, I won't. There'll be too many people coming. I won't say where it is.
Oh, Blue Eyes.
It's somewhere in Surbiton.
Yeah, Surbiton. Come to Surbiton, everyone. Everyone live in Surbiton.
But yeah, well, what we realised we should probably do, it's been 5 weeks now, we'll do a little recap where we are in the predictions game. Just as a reminder, Matt, do you want to go through what the rules were?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So, I mean, the rules of a prediction game are simple. And that is, you just got to predict your score. Predict the score for the upcoming game week. You're only allowed to use one team per half a season. So obviously, the first 20 fixtures, you can only use one team once. And then it repeats kind of for the second half of the season. And that's about it. And basically, just at the start of each game week, before each game week, we have our little prediction, and that's it.
I thought you made that a bit more exciting. It's not that exciting, this game.
It's a brilliant game. It's a brilliant game. It's called the predictions game. It's the best game you'll ever come up with.
It's the best name of a game ever.
That is, yeah, it's good. Yeah,
it says what it is.
Maybe we need to change the game, but just keep the name.
Is that we do? We also pick the score, and if you're lucky enough to get the score correct, then you get double point that week. That's 2 points for those that don't speak French.
Double point.
And prefer to just let the funky music do the talking. Oh dear, that was a tumbleweed moment, wasn't it?
I hate him.
Speaking of double point, Andy got the double point last week. He predicted Aston Villa would win 3-1 against Palace, and they did.
Mm-hmm. He did, yeah.
Chris
very good.
Went for a bold 1-0 Everton win over Arsenal, which of course didn't happen. It happened in reverse, so that's 0 points for Chris. Matt, what did you go for?
I went for Tottenham 4-0. It was anything but comfortable against Sheffield United, and it took a 98th minute and 100th minute winner there for me to get my 1 point, but no 2 points for me. And then I saw you went for Fulham, I believe.
I did. I went for Fulham 2-1 over Luton. They won 1-0. So I get my point. Just not the two. And we'll quickly just round up where we are. Sitting in last place at the moment. Although I will say I haven't picked any of the big teams yet.
Pick Chelsea
me with 3 points.
You picked Chelsea, James. You picked Chelsea.
Chelsea aren't big.
Okay. Fair enough.
Categorical.
Yeah, it's fair. Was.
Sitting in joint second place with Matt and Chris with 4. And Andy leading the way on 5 points.
5 points.
Although we will say that he has picked Liverpool, Man City, and Spurs already.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, and Villa, and what's going to come up? So yeah.
Oh, that was almost a spoiler then.
It was almost a spoiler. Sorry, kids.
So yeah, well, let's quickly go through the games next week, which we are all very excited for. No midweek, no lunchtime kickoff on Saturday, which is a shame. But at 3, we have Man City versus Forest, we have Palace versus Fulham, and Luton versus Wolves. Then in the evening, we have Brentford versus Everton and Burnley versus United. And then let's hope that this Sunday is a little bit more super than the last one. We have Chelsea versus Villa, Arsenal Tottenham, which should be tasty, Liverpool West Ham, Brighton Bournemouth, and Sheffield United versus Newcastle United. So
Big
Matt,
games. Big games.
who have you gone for? I believe you've stuck your neck out a little bit here.
No, sure, yeah. So I mean, I did stick my neck out on this one, and I'm backing Luton Town to beat Wolves 2-1. And why, you ask, is that Wolves are appalling. That is bad. That is the whole reason. Wolves will have 20 shots in this game and will only score 1 goal because they're awful strikers. And Luton Town will come away with their first victory in the Premier League since, I don't know since the Premier League started, since then. So yeah, looking forward to it.
I would absolutely love it if Cunha came and spoiled your parade by scoring a hat-trick.
I'd be livid.
That would make my podcast next week.
Yeah,
I've not stuck my neck out massively. I've gone for a 2-0 win for Crystal Palace at home against Fulham. I don't think Fulham are a great side this year at all, really. And I think that, Palace should have them at home.
You just backed Fulham to win in the last round.
They were playing Luton.
Yeah, but Luton are good now.
Okay. Andy went for a big score. He went for 5-0 against Brighton. So 5 against Brighton, sorry. 5-0 for Brighton against Bournemouth.
South Coast Derby. This one. It's a bit sad, isn't it?
Oh,
I know.
That's depressing, isn't it?
I know. I literally just thought about
Southampton and the South Coast Derby.
I know. And actually no Portsmouth as well. It's not that I'm that sad about that one, but it seems a bit weird that these two are the biggest
I don't like that. No.
teams in the South Coast there. So yeah.
I'm all about Plymouth these days.
I'm Folkestone, man. I'm a Folkestone.
Folkestone. I don't know how to respond to that. But yeah, so Andy's won 5-0 for Brighton against Bournemouth. And Chris has really stuck his neck out and gone 4-1 Man City against Nottingham Forest. I wonder where he got that idea from.
No, it's going to be tough, that one. It's going to be tough.
Yeah. Well, exactly. I mean, with the unbalanced side that Nottingham Forest have, it could be 5-5.
It could be, and you hope so.
It could very easily be 5-5.
You hope so. Let's get City. Let's get City off the top. Should we just decide to do that? Just get them off the top.
Yeah, let's do it. And replace them with Plymouth.
Plymouth and Folkestone. Let's go.
Unfortunately, football doesn't work like that. You have to build your way through the pyramid. So we will be doing this podcast in a few years' time when Plymouth are top of the Premier League. Cannot wait for that. So yeah, that's it for the predictions game. And I guess that's a wrap, folks. We look forward to a podcast again next week. And until that point, remember, it's on your head, son.
Not off your head.
Son.
Yeah. Look at that. Nice and easy. Perfect.
Absolute nonsense.